that Peter literally is sitting in the chair in Rome at the head of the Catholic Church, 1 billion followers. Oh, yep, 1 billion followers. And he's teaching a lie. He's teaching in the catechism that if you commit fornication and you die without reconciliation, you will go to hell. Now he's saying that because he's calling two people screwing together profane. Exactly. He is saying it's profane for a man and a woman to screw, unless they're married and there's a blah 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 blah, yabba dabba dabba do. And Jesus is saying, Father, forgive them, they know not what they do. And I will tell you something in regards to Peter. And if you think about this, I'm saying Peter's sitting at the head of the Catholic Church, and here, what did Jesus call Peter? Peter's the only one that Jesus ever called Satan. Because when Jesus said he was going down to Jerusalem, Peter said, oh, well, no, you shouldn't go down there because they're going to hurt you. And Jesus said, get behind me, Satan. And what's he saying by that? He's saying that that kind of attitude of fear and not trusting God and seeing things from the negative viewpoint, that's Satan. Saying no to Jesus is Satan. So Jesus said, I'm going to Jerusalem, and Peter said, no, that's Satan. So you got to know that within yourself. When you're listening to what's being said, if it's a positive thing, it's something that Jesus is saying. If it's saying something is good, okay, then it's something that God is saying. And to say no is Satan. And the reason you say no to good things that are intelligent is because you feel like it. So a reason a person says no to marijuana is because they feel it's wrong. They just feel it's wrong. It doesn't matter what the facts are. There's a moral feeling there, okay? The strength of this moral feeling is the proof of the existence of these creatures. And this is how they manipulate you. And I'll just tell you, I had a thing happen years ago when I was wanting to quit smoking, and I developed my own method. I decided that every time I smoked a cigarette, I would ask myself why. And one time, I asked myself why, and I had an experience in which I found myself somewhere, wherever, in darkness, but where there was a sense of things. And I'm standing here, and there's like a fountain in the middle of things. And out of the fountain is coming this thought, is it saying, I feel like smoking a cigarette. I'm serious. It's like a movie I'm in. And I'm standing there, and I'm looking at this thing saying, I feel like smoking a cigarette. And yet, you know, if you look, step out of it, I didn't think of it at the time, but there's the answer. I'm finding out why I'm smoking cigarettes. I'm smoking cigarettes because I think I want to. But I'm observing my thoughts as separate from my consciousness, all right? So I'm looking at this thing saying, I feel like smoking a cigarette, and I just kind of, wow, curious about it, and I felt like I was floating, and I floated over the top of this, and it was like a fountain coming out with this thought, and I entered this fountain, and I don't know where I came out in this dark place. And this is true. There was this thing there. It looked like it had 2 arms, 2 legs, and a head, but it was like it didn't have clothes. It was like darkness. It was like a creature formed. You know, it's like some kind of creature in dimensional space, almost like these creatures in that movie Buckaroo Banzai. They're in the mountain. You know, they're in between the things. Okay. So this creature is like squatting and straining, and what it's doing It's forcing some kind of energy out of itself down through me in my thinking mechanism and causing my thought mechanism to think I feel like smoking a cigarette. So he's putting a feeling in me of a feeling towards wanting to smoke a cigarette. Man, when I first saw that, I was blown away. I was like, I fell back in through this fountain, and I'm falling backwards in humiliation to realize that since I'm like 10 years old, this thing has had me smoking cigarettes. Well, I'm falling back in shame, and then all of a sudden I realized that this thing did this to me, and I got really, really, really pissed off at this thing. I kind of, for all I can say is I went back through the fountain, I came out on the other side, and I went to get this thing. I was gonna tear it with my bare hands. I mean, I was absolutely enraged. And you know what? This thing took off. It was like looking at a lump under a dark rug on a wall in darkness. I could barely see it. Went whew, gone. And that was it. I completely lost wanting to smoke a cigarette, and I had no withdrawal. Obviously, nicotine is not addictive. Anybody that thinks it is freaking crazy and doesn't understand a damn thing about the human mind. Because you discount God and the things of God, you think that the things of God don't matter, then you have Swiss cheese instead of American cheese for your reality. And that means it's full of holes, and you're making decisions on only part of the information. The really important parts of information are not in your analysis because you remove God. And this is what's going on right here in everybody's mind. By not understanding God, and not understanding that God is what is true, not what you feel like. God is what is true. God is what is common sense. God is what is the most wonderful thought. Because what is the purpose of humanity? The purpose of humanity is to be alive, and it's for all of humanity. So the salvation of all humanity is the purpose of humanity. And everybody is important. Every single individual is part of it and is necessary. So there is no death in God. There is only life in God. And death comes from where there is no life. And where there is no life is where this dimensional creature that everybody calls Satan. But understand it, this is very much like a science fiction deal. And it's an overpowering influence because the proof of it is what's going on in the world right now. I mean, what intelligent person would think that there is a God that would reward you by creating harm on his children, on his creation? Because every child that you kill there's no getting around it, that thou shalt not kill. There's no exceptions. And this is where I'm saying, for everybody, including the Muslims, all go back to this little incident with Peter on the roof and his not listening to the angel when the angel said, do not call profane what God has made holy. God has made everything holy. So do not call profane is the watchword. That's what's in the center of the Declaration of Independence. That is the nucleus of the worldwide democracy movement. Because it says all men are created. It doesn't say all Americans. It's talking about everybody on the planet. Democracy, American democracy, is just here to protect this principle. And that's why it's here, but it's for the whole world. It's like, actually, every country in the world is eventually, when America straightens itself and the United States is in tune with God. I'm talking about the good God, and they've let go of all the negatives, and we're full-blown for liberty and freedom. Honestly, liberty, everything. Forget justice. There's justice for all. Justice is there. There is no justice in anybody causing harm on anybody. Anybody punishing anybody. That's not just. That's against humanity. To cause harm to anybody, even the slightest discomfort, is evil. It's evil. And the inclination, the feeling to do that comes from these creatures. So people that are possessed by this kind of feeling are possessed by these creatures. So literally you can be walking around and you think you're the most perfect Muslim or Christian, I don't care, whatever religion. But when you are angry at your brother, when you think someone should die, that's Satan. He's living in you. You're witnessing Satan instead of witnessing yourself. You should witness yourself, because yourself is God. That's the point of America. All men are created equal to God. It's the same as what God says. Created in the image and likeness of God. It's what Jesus said. Ye are all gods. What do you think it means to be God? God is God. It means he can do anything he wants. It means that he's created everyone as God. Now, why is things the way they are? Well, listen, it's part of creation. This isn't the end of it. What is the end? Well, the end is when this period ends and the beginning of real time happens. Because if there is a God, there is a point, and it's in Scripture. And I'm going to read it. Because listen, I'm trying to explain to you why you should let go of negative feelings. All negative feelings are from these creatures. There is no negative feeling that comes from the soul of a human being. Not at all. Not one. There's not a doubt that comes from a human being. Period. So, the fullness of what God is doing can be known in this prophecy. This is Revelations 21, 3 and 4. This is what it says. I heard a loud shout from the throne saying, Look, the home of God is now among men, and he will live with them, and they will be his people. Yes, God himself will be among them. He will wipe away all tears from their eyes, and there shall be no more death, nor sorrow, nor crying, nor pain. All of that has gone forever. This is a prophecy that's saying that God is coming, and he's making everybody his family. So that means everybody becomes God. So as God, you don't die, you don't cry, none of that. All right, now look, you don't want to believe that, then you don't know, you know nothing about God. Because if you want to believe in God, then you got to go all the way with God. Otherwise, you can't have shit in your life other than chaos. You want miracles in your life, you really have to believe in God. And you have to believe in God so strongly that you have joy in it, that you are confident. And I'm saying to believe in God is just to believe in yourself, to feel happy, to feel joy, to relax, to kick it. The same feeling you get when you smoke some marijuana. When you feel that kind of feeling, that's you. You know, I'm feeling myself today. When you're not feeling yourself, then the feelings that you are feeling, they're generating your thinking. So when you're in a bad mood, you could think about a subject and come up with a whole bunch of shit. And if you're in a good mood and you think about the same subject, you come up with a completely different thing. The point is that the good mood is you, and the bad mood is freaking Satan. That's why it's a bad mood, because he's bad and it feels bad to associate with him. So what I'm saying is, don't feel that shit. Don't feel bad. Don't feel negative. Don't worry about people. Don't worry, oh, my child is going to get sick. That's Satan trying. You're wishing your child sick. What you want to do is, when you feel like that, you want to turn to God. You want to say, help me, my child be well, and then believe it by pretending you're well and the child's well. Tell your child, be happy, you'll be fine. I'm serious. That's what I do. I'm never sick because I trust God. I know it's really hard to believe in God, and I talk about a lot of things that have happened with me and God, but forget all that. Just think about the very common sense of what I'm saying. And I'm using the Declaration of Independence as common ground with me and all of you Americans and all of anybody in the world that is for democracy. I'm saying, if you're for democracy, the very idea of political democracy in the true sense of the word comes from the Declaration of Independence. All men are created equal. It puts it on a different level than Greek democracy. It's saying that this is ordained by God.